Hello, Lauren. How are you?
I am doing wonderful today. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Thank you. Thank you for taking the time to meet with us here at Markets Group. And I'll just get going right away. So why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, Lauren, and your background and career?
Well, the very long story short is that I became a professional athlete at the age of 20. And the cool thing about that is that I started to earn money as a junior in college. The not so cool thing about that is that I needed to find a financial person to help me organize my finances. I knew enough to just, maybe not even be dangerous as a 20-year-old who was a finance major. And I at least knew enough to know that I needed the help of a financial professional. So I went out, I found one as recommendation of a family friend and started working with a financial professional. I was fortunate enough to go to 3 Olympic Games and track and field. I earned 2 medals, one silver, one gold. And then I went on to switch to winter sports where I did bobsled. So I'm the first American woman to earn a medal in both the Summer and the Winter Olympics. But like I said, it didn't come without its trials along the way as being a female professional athlete. We don't earn in the same way that like an NFL or an NBA player earns. So I had to be smart with the money that I had. And I was really hoping to have a good financial professional in my life to help me organize my finances and make good decisions. But I said it didn't go well with the first guy. I fired him, hired another guy, thought that was going to go better. It didn't. And just being really frustrated led me to say, like, what options do you have when you want to make good decisions with your money and you're willing to pay a professional, but you're not getting the advice that you want. And so that led me to finding the CFP coursework via a Google search, good old Google, um, and enrolling in the coursework blindly, really to help myself, not because I realized that it was a part of the industry or I don't think I understood at all what the financial industry was or fully what the investment aspect of things were. And that led me to want to start my own business. So I now run a company, a financial planning company that is 8 years old, called Worth Winning, where I specialize in helping young professionals better understand their personal finances.
Excellent. All right. And then maybe going back a little bit, how did you decide to become a professional athlete? What was that process like?
Well, the decision wasn't my own, actually. I was really excited about the free education that came with being a pretty good track and field athlete. So I went to the University of Miami. I'm a Hurricane. I was recruited there on a full track and field scholarship. And I come from a family of 5 sisters, 2 brothers, so a large family, not a lot of income. And so scholarship was going to be the only way that I was going to get my education paid for. But my parents definitely instilled the importance of education in my life. And so I chose the University of Miami thinking like, hey, it's warm here. I can meet my obligations as a track and field athlete. But I really wanted to repay my coach for the opportunity of getting a free education. So I worked my butt off on the track and I had success there. So it wasn't really a choice to become a professional athlete. It was my junior year in college. I was at the national championships for college track and field, and I ran the second fastest time in the world that year. So now I had run faster than any American professional athlete, and only one person in the world had run faster than me so far for the year. And that's kind of how it was like, okay, well, it's time to turn your focus to being a professional athlete versus it being a goal or aspiration of mine.
Got it. Okay. And then afterwards, so your first medal is the silver medal in Athens.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then how was that change? Did anything change? Did your life change after that?
I'd say the probably most immediate change was the idea that I wasn't a college student living in a dormitory anymore. I was now a college student with one more semester to go that was earning a living and, kind of felt the pressure of like figuring out how to be an adult really quickly.
Mhm.
And I don't know about you, they say 18 is when you're an adult, but when you look back, my 25-year-old self was an adult, my 21-year-old self was an adult, and my 18-year-old self definitely was not an adult. So um, it was really hard to just navigate like what is the right thing to do in these particular moments.
Yeah, I agree. Um, Excellent. And then maybe you can tell us a little bit about then the gold medal in London, because kind of a different approach in the sense that it's a team effort in that case as opposed to individual. So, if you could tell us a little bit about how the team came together and kind of that experience of running with your club.
Absolutely. Yeah. So 2004, I made the Olympic team as an individual athlete in the 100 meters and earned the silver medal. I was also a part of the 4x1 relay on that team, but we unfortunately did not get the baton all the way around. I think we could have easily set a world record, but the key piece is coulda, woulda, shoulda. If you did not get the baton around to all four people, you didn't get your opportunity. And so you fast forward to 2008, and I also made it for that 100 meters. Unfortunately, I got fourth place, which I just want to let the whole world know that fourth place is far worse than eighth place when you're talking the Olympic Games. Because in eighth place, you just lost. That's it. But in fourth place, you were just out of the medal standings, just out of the opportunity for bonuses, all sorts of different recognition. And so it was a really, really tough loss. We did also have the relay in 2008. And unfortunately, again, we did not get the baton around. And so it was really frustrating to, it's hard to make one Olympic team, but to make two of them, to know that we have the four girls that could easily break the world record, and then we flub it when it counted the most was really, really tough. So you fast forward to 2012, which was your question, about that experience. There was a lot of pain and a lot of hurt that you carried into that games, because we knew there have been times that we had missed opportunities and we wanted to make the most of them. However, we had it. And so in 2012, I did not have my individual event. I placed sixth at the USA trials, only the top three make the Olympic team. And so my only option was to be invited as part of the relay pool. And for me, there was so much more on the line this time around because we had already messed up 2 times. And it was a really, really cool experience to be able to participate in the Olympic Games in only the team format, because when you have your individual event, it's all on you, it's all or nothing. But figuring out how to come together as a group of people, getting the chemistry right, getting the baton exchanges right is such a large effort that I took a lot of pride in being asked to be a part of it, even though I was a part of those 2, teams where things didn't go so well. And I think what I brought to that team was the wisdom of what didn't go well so that we could change the energy. Because I was like, if we can just get the chemistry right this time, there's no reason we shouldn't break the world record. And we did.
Excellent. All right. All right. So kind of going beyond sports a little bit now, the majority of our readership here are active capital allocators that are looking for opportunities. And just like in sports, sometimes they do well, sometimes they don't. So there's a lot of a good comparison between professional sports and the world of finance, especially now that you have your own business. So what have you learned from your professional career as an athlete in order to, have a successful business and apply this into the finance world?
Yeah, Andres, you bring up such a good point about the synergy of sports and finance and how they just kind of go hand in hand. There's so many analogies that you could use. The one that comes to mind most for me, though, as I think about this and, think about investing, is this idea of slow and steady wins the race. So many people are looking for, the next best get rich quick scheme, or this thing that's going to make you an overnight success, or that, just that one pick that's going to just do it for you. But what I've learned from both sport and being in finance is that, again, in track and field, you show up every day at practice. Like you said, some days you win, some days you lose. Some days you go to practice and you're really sore from whatever you did the day before, and you don't feel like practicing, but you show up again anyway because you're building something. And those practices, the addition or the sum of those practices adds up to a really good race. And then you need multiple races to get yourself sharp for the big race, the championship race that's going to allow you to make the USA team or, win the Olympic Games. So all of these things are building on top of one another. And in the same way with finances, it's getting that money into that investment account on a regular basis is that slow and steady aspect of that's what wins the race. You can't spend all your money and then say, when you're 55 years old, I got $5. Can you turn it into 500,000 for me? If you just took that $5 every day from 25 to 50, you'd be a lot happier camper. But, it's easier said than done to show up every day, even when it hurts, even when you'd rather spend the money on something else, and continue to invest strategically and continuously on a regular basis so that at the end of it, you can win the race.
Excellent. All right. Understood. And so why don't you tell us maybe a little bit more about your business? So what is the approach that you're taking? Who are you helping? How are you helping? How are you helping them? A little bit more about Worth Winning.
Absolutely. So the thing that I was really passionate about was being able to serve people similar to me. When I say similar, I was young, I was earning a good living. Like I said, I was really ready to invest in myself, in my investment accounts, and really wanted to understand and organize my finances. But like I said, didn't end up in the hands of the right people. So when I started my company, I said, I want to fill the gap. I want people who traditionally wouldn't be looking for financial planning or wouldn't get access to financial planning to have access to it. And so, a lot of the big financial planning firms where you're going to find a certified financial planner are going to say you need $1 million in assets before you can be a client. Well, that puts a lot of responsibility on the person to become a financial planning expert on their own. If you're going to take whatever you're earning and turn it into $1 million, like by the time I turn it into $1 million, what do I need the advisor for? That's how I think of it, at least. And so what I was thinking is like, what if, this 20-year-old girl who was making roughly $200,000 a year, had an advisor, she could have had that $1 million in assets pretty easily, but without the information, you don't get a chance to grow your assets. You don't get a chance to understand investing truly. And so I wanted to bridge that gap. So I started with a traditional financial planning firm that was meant to serve kind of young professionals, millennials, those who, like I said, traditionally wouldn't get access to financial planning or that were kind of forgotten. And I built a successful practice over the last 8 years. But what I ultimately decided is that I was going to be limited in the number of people that I was going to be able to serve by running a financial planning firm. And along the way, I met tons of high integrity financial planners. So I started to feel like, okay, this is no longer the gap in the industry. Where the real gap in this industry is people having access to high integrity knowledge. So what I've decided to do now is to go out into the world and try to impact a lot more people, influence the masses, if you will. So I do a lot of going into companies and working as a part of an employer benefit and doing a couple of day workshops. So I built a 12-point curriculum course that's basically like money school, because there's all this stuff that we should have learned about money because each and every one of us has to deal with it on a regular basis, but nobody taught us. And so we can't skip right to the investing piece of the puzzle if you don't have a budget, if you don't have a plan in place for your student loans, if you don't know how your 401k works, if you don't have a tax strategy. There's all these little pieces of the puzzle that really help you optimize your finances, and they really are a way of investing in yourself. So we can't just focus on the investment returns. We've got to focus on our full financial picture. And I go into companies or, people get small groups together. So, you and your spouse and 3 other couples can get together and come meet me in Colombia. We'll take some time off. So you'll get a vacation, but you'll also get this money school. So taking financial planning outside of the box of how it's traditionally been presented, making it a lot more fun and relatable is my thing. And like I said, having a much bigger impact because I'm able to serve groups of people at a time versus being limited to 40 or 50 families as a traditional financial planner.
Got it. Okay. And then, so you said you've been running the business for now 8 years. What is been the most challenging things from the entrepreneurship perspective?
Oh, that's easy. The hardest thing about being an entrepreneur is marketing. Some people have that social media knack and they love to post. There's nothing I'd rather do less. So I kind of consider myself an old millennial. I think they said we're 27 to 43 years old this year. And so I just turned 40. So I'm on the older end but I don't love social media at all. And I think that is the way that people are doing most of their marketing. And you can have the best idea in the world, but if you don't have clients coming through the door, then your best
Mhm.
idea just gets to be kept for yourself. So absolutely, once you build it, they will come. Once you show somebody how good your programming is or how good your services are, they'll tell a friend about it. And my business has been fortunate enough to grow by word of mouth, better than it has grown over social media. But definitely that slow and steady part of telling people and explaining to them the value and why they should spend their money on this thing or invest in themselves in this way is the hardest part of entrepreneurship.
Got it. All right. And then something we ask all of our guests is, and to close the interview, is what gives you hope for the future, Lauryn? What are you looking forward to, generally speaking?
What gives me hope for the future? The way that the world has, uh, I guess, returned to loving one another is what gives me hope for the future. I think pre 2020, we had become a really grumpy world. There's a lot of anger, a lot of hatred. And, we haven't gotten rid of all of that. But I think that, being trapped indoors during that time gave us a lot of time to reflect. And I felt more loved and cared for and respected, going to a grocery store, driving down the street where people are usually laying on their horns. I love to travel, so different places, being warmly received. I just feel like the energy worldwide has changed, and I have a lot of hope for the idea that we're going to be able to continue to unite and support support one another, and continue to just make the overall world a better place.
Excellent. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us. I hope to just see you soon, and I'll see you in LA at Alts LA 2024, of course. But thank you so much for taking the time.
Thanks for having me.